Well, I mean, I think that varies by year. It could be time, it could be volume. So you're thinking about both of those things when you're making a choice or an evaluation of your season. I would say, just taking last year, we started March 17th, and we were done essentially after Easter. So it was about 3 weeks. And I think, 3 to 4 weeks is at least, I would say, normal, for us. Depending on how early you can start and how cool the spring is, you might be able to extend it longer than that. But so far for us, our experience has been 3 to 4 weeks. Well, if you end up with a season that's only 2 weeks long, and it might happen because the spring warmed up really quickly, your temperature range, you really want the ideal to be -6 at night to +6 during the day. So we started tapping this year, just as an example, when it was still -3 to +3. So one would have thought, oh, that's a narrow range. It turned out to be perfect. It turned out to be really great. So if you have a spring that comes hard, where it warms up really quickly, that means you'll have a very short season. So unless in that short period you got lots of volume, you might not see any impact at all. But if you had a short season with less volume, then your impact would be, in terms of your income, would clearly be there because you'd have less syrup to sell. It takes a lot of sap to make syrup. It's 40 to 1. So you need that volume of sap to be flowing in order for you to get the volume you need for syrup to sell. So what we are dealing with when we think about climate change is a whole series of cascading effects. The first starts with the pollution that's causing the problem. So first we're burning oil and coal and gas to generate energy, and we are changing the way our land works, whether we're taking agricultural land and building cities or whether we're clear cutting trees. Fossil fuels put carbon pollution into the air when you burn it. And if we're in balance, good operating land base, your trees and your forests are healthy and your soil is well cared for, it's absorbing carbon. But right now we're out of balance. We have more going into the air from burning fossil fuels, and we're undermining the capacity of the carbon cycle in natural processes like photosynthesis to take it up. The ocean also absorbs some, and it's kind of getting to the limit of what it can absorb in terms of heat. So what we have is energy going into the air. It's adding heat to the atmosphere, and that's changing the climate system. So we have this beginning, and then we have this middle effect, and then we have the ultimate effect, which is what happens to the trees. So we have hotter temperatures, often drier conditions in the summer. We can have more extreme weather events. All of those things are putting stress on the trees. So you combine that with, say, winter that was milder. Maple trees like a good hard frost in the winter to bud in the spring. You may have a spring that comes really early. All of those might mean that the tree comes into sap production early because it's getting ready to start to feed itself, to produce its buds and its leaves and so on, to go into the summer life, and all of those things are being affected by both the overall average temperature, the extreme events that it might be facing, as well as the timing of spring. So you may end up in a situation where the trees are stressed, so they're producing less. The overall health of the tree would be declining. And you would have potentially, from a producer's point of view, less sap to harvest and then to create syrup from. Well, because emissions from our energy use and the way we care for our land is not improving, or not improving very quickly, we now have a situation where about half of all the pollution that goes into the air stays in the air. The other half is absorbed by the ocean and the land, so part of the normal carbon cycle. So each year we add 50% more, and then another 50% more. And so what's happening is we are accelerating the changes to climate because we keep adding both these gases which hold heat to the atmosphere, which in turn drive all these subsequent changes. So the next 10 to 20 years, we expect that we will be headed toward temperature increases in the 2 to 3 degrees on average. It could be more season to season, and in different locations. The Arctic is warming significantly faster than that. And you'll see more moisture in the atmosphere to fuel. The oceans are getting warmer, so they're adding a lot of energy to storms, which is why some of our natural patterns are just becoming stronger. So you'll get more snow in the snow event, you'll get more intense events when it's raining and that kind of thing. So the next 10 to 20 years are important, both from controlling the pollution, but also because these gases last a long, long time. It can be 100 years or so before you process out every carbon molecule you put in from a liter of gas. So the goal is to reduce those emissions, but because they stay in the air so long, we are locked in to a certain amount of warming that we can't avoid. And if we were good and really reduced our emissions, we could keep that below 1.5 to 2 degrees warming. But if we're not, then we could be 3 to 6 degrees. You could probably in more the southern part of the province. So what's happening is as the temperatures warm and conditions change, you're seeing a northern migration of trees where they can. I mean, the seeds don't jump a city necessarily. We're going to have to change our silviculture practices. We need to favor hardwoods, which actually are more drought resistant and can manage better than the softwoods. And we likely could grow our capacity for maple syrup if we moved our silviculture into supporting maple and other hardwoods, and especially more central to northern New Brunswick. So it's about shifting and adapting, but it's also possible that we could expand some parts of our economy and others may decline. Softwood industry would decline over time.